During the COVID years, doctors and nurses were hailed as heroes. But behind the masks and white coats, many became foot soldiers for Big Pharma, pushing experimental shots, silencing dissent, and fueling a mass psychosis that left the world in a trance. Fast forward to today, and the spell is breaking. Now, karma is hitting like a freight train. Across hospitals and clinics, thousands of once healthy doctors and nurses, the very faces of the pandemic response, are dropping dead. Heart attacks, brain bleeds, and something even more disturbing: a tidal wave of rare, fast-moving turbo cancers. And here's where it gets chilling. Whistleblowers are stepping forward, revealing that many of these medical workers who were vaccinated with shots from the same batch are now being diagnosed with cancer on the same day, and even, wait for it, dying on the same day too. Coincidence? Or coordinated carnage? Meanwhile, the mainstream media is nowhere to be found. The same outlets that once glorified these health heroes are now complicit in their silence, burying the deaths, censoring the patterns, and gaslighting the public. But here's the truth. The body bags are piling up, the cover-up is cracking, and the people finally are waking up. We are the news now, and the reckoning is just beginning. Before we dive in, join the TPV free speech community over on Soju. Soju is a digital space where ideas and information can take place without any annoying algorithms or restrictive rules getting in the way of free expression. According to Barack Obama, the mainstream media has never told a lie and doesn't make stuff up. Obama appears to have conveniently forgotten the litany of falsehoods and outright deception spread by the mainstream media in recent years. Anyone remember the Russian collusion hoax that turned out to be entirely made up? How about Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation and we're not going to report on it? Or how about 2 weeks to slow the spread? Or the vaccine will prevent infections? In case Barack is watching, we found an example of the media making something up. Here is Rachel Maddow spreading dangerous medical misinformation, telling the world that getting vaccinated against COVID stops transmission.
Vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them.
Shameless. The mainstream media took Big Pharma's 30 pieces of silver, deceived their audience, and hand in hand with the medical industry, they have the blood of millions on their hands. But karma is coming for those who played a role in forcing the poison on the masses. 10 staff members at Newton Wellesley Hospital in Massachusetts have been diagnosed with brain tumours, all at the same time. What do they have in common? They all received the COVID jabs from the same vaccine batches. Now, if that doesn't raise red flags, I don't know what does. You'd think this would be headline news. You'd think there'd be urgent investigations, public health alerts, and press conferences. But instead, silence. The mainstream media is burying the story again. One nurse, speaking anonymously, expressed the growing terror felt by her colleagues as cancer cases mount. "You're going into work every day with that feeling in your gut, and it's a lousy feeling," she said, reflecting on her own brain tumour diagnosis. It's getting to the point where the number just increases, and you start saying, am I crazy thinking this? This can't just be a coincidence. It turns out that vaccines are the leading cause of coincidences, and they're happening more often all around the vaccinated world. What are the chances that 18 new cases of cancer in Bulli Hospital in Australia all shared the same Pfizer vaccine batch?
Had already been going through breast cancer, and she has that batch number, which is the Pfizer FN0565, which was the same one that was the vial sent to Canada, Dr. David Speecher, with the DNA contamination. There are 18 cases of cancer from Bulli Hospital, where Belinda used to be. Hospital. Yeah. And there are male and females, and we have the entire list, okay?
And what are the chances that these turbo cancer cases from the same vaccine batches are causing young and healthy people to die so quickly and in such horrific pain that doctors have been forced to euthanize them to put them out of their misery? As Zoe the medical coder turned whistleblower explained.
What about vaccine injury, the ones that actually took the shots? What did you see there?
Massive. I didn't know it was possible for a human to die so horrifically and so quickly before they rolled out the mRNA injections. It was insane. I've never seen anything like that. The worst of them were the ones, they called it sepsis, but it was like instant multi-organ failure. Like within hours, patients would die of liver, lung, kidney, all at once failure, respiratory failure. It was like some of the records, the emergency crew that found them, it's like their body tried to reject everything, and some of these cases, like their family would be there 30 minutes before, and then within an hour they're dead. And then there were patients coming in with seizures like I've never seen before. We couldn't control some of them. Days patients would be seizing, and no medications would stop it, and eventually they kind of had to be put down. They called it encephalitis or encephalopathy, and then later on they even the coding information organization AHIMA admitted COVID-19 associated encephalitis. There were blood clots, strokes. The clots were insane. Never seen clots like that before. Even the interventional radiologists that were going in with, they have angiopathies and, different scopes where they can do like heart interventions and put stents in like a carotid artery if you have a stroke going to your brain. Normally it's rare to have more than one stent go in. And they were documenting, multiple locations all at once. They had heart attack cases that were like that, where they needed massive amounts of stents that they never needed before. There were people in their 20s that had been hiking that were totally healthy, had been running marathons, that suddenly needed a leg amputated because they had a massive blood clot going from their hip all the way down to their leg, and it couldn't be saved.
The media have been desperate to convince the public that blood clots among the vaccinated is just a giant coincidence. Well, guess what? That's another lie the media has been caught out on. Big pharma giant and vaccine maker AstraZeneca was finally forced to admit in court documents that yes, the so-called conspiracy theorists are right all along, and their COVID vaccine causes fatal blood clots and turbo cancer. The horror stories are too numerous and disturbing to be written out of history. Big pharma and the elite must be held accountable for these crimes. The most disturbing part of the situation is that doctors and nurses are not the only ones dropping dead in synchronized fashion. We've got more details after this important word from our sponsor. For years, the establishment has worked hard to bury the truth about turbo cancer, silencing dissent, pushing paid fact checks, and labeling concerned voices as conspiracy theorists. But you can't fool everybody forever. Now, even the medical establishment is being forced to admit what many have known all along. Turbo cancer is real, and the truth can no longer be denied.
Turbo cancer is a new kind of slang term that people are using around the world. A colleague of mine in Sweden coined the term in one of her papers. And what she was seeing as a breast pathologist that sees a lot of breast cancer over her many years of practice, she noticed young women developing cancer after the rollout of the injections, and she noticed that these cancers were more aggressive and spreading more quickly. So the turbo cancer just means a cancer that's behaving in a more aggressive manner than in science. We know how most cancers behave over a period of time. And these cancers, because of the dysregulation of the immune responses and the suppression of the immune system by these genetic-based injections and so many other mechanisms, these cancers that normally would be kept in check by the body are unexpectedly growing very quickly.
How long until those who were paid to push the vaccine finally put up their hand and admit they were sold a lie, and they misled the masses for a measly few bucks? Grace Helbig is just one example from tens of thousands of YouTube influencers who've been struck down with turbo cancer, just years after taking big pharma money to shamelessly push the vaccine on their followers. In Grace's case, the diagnosis came just 2 years after she sold her soul to big pharma.
It's the day after we got our second shot, and I will say I'm feeling pretty okay. I'm just tired and my arm is sore, but that's about it. So I hope you guys do shot. Everybody! I would love if everybody got the shots. That'd be great.
Fast forward a couple of years in Grace's life and the vibe shift could not be more extreme.
Okay, I don't know how to do this, so we're just going to do this. I have breast cancer. I know. It's very shocking. It's very surreal. It doesn't sound real, but it's real.
In 2025, the tragic trend of young, healthy individuals developing turbo cancers and dying suddenly has not gone away. In fact, the trend is accelerating. Society is still not ready to have a serious conversation about why this is happening. The medical establishment are still claiming to be baffled. The mainstream media are still gaslighting the public. But people are beginning to take notice. Popular YouTuber Eon Nutrition posted a video recently expressing his astonishment at the staggering number of fellow YouTubers who have dropped dead recently or been diagnosed with turbo cancer.
We continue to see young and previously healthy people from all backgrounds dropping dead. But why is this happening?
In June of this year, a prominent YouTuber with a large following running the YouTube channel called Pretty Pastel Please unfortunately passed away. Now, she was only 30 years old, and the diagnosis was lymphocytic myocarditis. This is a condition of the heart. Now, whilst this used to be uncommon, this year has seen a long list of influencers who have seemingly died suddenly and unexpectedly for no apparent reason. It comes off the back of another prominent influencer named Farah El-Khadi. She was an architect. She died of a cardiac arrest while she was on vacation in the same month. Now, she was only slightly older at 36 years old. And just 3 years older than her, viral TikTok influencer Dr. Tatiana Guluwate sadly passed away a few months just before in March. Now, it doesn't seem as though the cause of death was reported for this one, although there is a report of a potential brain aneurysm. We also saw the death of yet another influencer in the same month. This was after a year-long battle with cervical cancer, which was pretty fast-acting, and she was only diagnosed the year before. Her name was Jessica Petway, once again, just 36 years old. A lady from Brazil who ran a similar channel. She had a large following. She was 35 years old. She also died of a heart attack at the start of December. Also in Brazil, this time last year, Larissa Borges, she died of a double cardiac arrest. So we're starting to see a very strange pattern here. Women in their early to mid 30s primarily, who are passing away for seemingly uncommon and rare conditions. I mean, it's just a coincidence that some of these influencers were publicly advocating for a certain medical procedure. And it's clear now that news outlets are forced to report on this. They simply cannot deny it. So here we have women's heart attacks rising, particularly among those 30 to 50 years old. So this is definitely a thing, guys. The same goes for turbo cancers. In fact, if we look at this graph here, we can see cancer rates have risen exponentially since 2021. Of course, the cause is a complete mystery. And actually, on this topic, in a tragic twist of fate, we have a Fox News reporter who was recently diagnosed with a turbo cancer himself. And the crazy thing is, his wife was also diagnosed with cancer not long before. I mean, so you have this couple who have both got cancer and are both battling it simultaneously. I mean, this is really tragic for the family, but what are the chances of that? I don't know about you guys, but looking at this graph, I can see one thing which might be able to explain it.
The medical establishment and mainstream media will still be claiming the vaccines have nothing to do with the global death surge when every vaccinated person is dead or dying of turbo cancer. Could it be because they all have their hands in the big pharma? Who will be the first vaccinated influencer who took big pharma cash to admit that they were lied to and taken advantage of by big pharma? Who will be the first mainstream media figure to issue a sincere and heartfelt apology to the people they tragically misled with COVID vaccine propaganda that's now costing millions of lives? Here are the people